Welcome back to Winners and Losers, everybody. The show that looks at the highs and the lows around world football this weekend. Look who's joining me. It's Dougie Critchley, fresh from Scotland, mate. How was your weekend?
Yeah, it was nice, thank you. Yeah, long old way up to Ayrshire on Friday night. Got there at like 1 a.m. Takes about 7 hours, and then 7 hours back yesterday. So a little bit tired, but all good. And yeah, sorry for the Football Daily fans that have to watch me on ERU and Winners and Losers today. Doing the double because Zach hasn't got his camera with him. Just yet. But yeah, Joe, how are you doing?
Yeah, mate, I'm not too bad, to be honest with you. I enjoyed my weekend. I'm still feeling a little bit rough after Saturday night. I actually went out with Zach, and he obviously went on to host Box Park the day after, so he had to leave early. So no excuses for not being on Winners and Losers. I'm not happy with him leaving the club before he should have to go and host an event. Just not acceptable. But anyway, what really did kind of cheer me up, Doug, was Manchester United's performance. Now, we don't really have a talking point as such. So what we're going to do is kind of encapsulate the new manager bumps into winners. And yeah, Dukes, I actually enjoyed it, mate. To answer your question, I actually enjoyed it. I particularly enjoyed the first 30 minutes of the game when I thought Man United played some of their best stuff this season. Now, let's be very realistic. He's had 24 hours with the squad. This was not some sort of hugely impactful, massive turning of the tide, but it was an indication, I think, of what he wants to do going forward. The formation he played, that 4-2-2-2, I really enjoyed having two floating 10s, Jadon Sancho and Bruno, having that room to do whatever they want. And I think it does fit the squad profile quite well because we've got an abundance of attacking players. And by having four up there, it works quite nicely. But I want to put some real shining light on Fred in central midfield because I've battered him at times. Most Manchester United fans have battered him at times. But we've said in the build-up to this that under Rangnick, if Rangnick can harness his pressing and his energy in the right way, there is a really good player in there. We see it for Brazil when he doesn't have to be the lone sitting defensive midfielder. When he's playing alongside a Casemiro or a Fabinho, his output is massively improved. And we're seeing that already under Ralph Rangnick. And even in the game before against Arsenal, of course, when he won the penalty, he was getting in the box. It's a great finish at the weekend, but he still put up 7 tackles. He still put up an interception as well, which is just phenomenal in there. And his energy is really, really high. And when he plays like that, he's actually enjoyable to watch. Yes, he gives the ball away a little bit too often in central midfield. I'm sure that's something Rangnick's going to want to work on, those sort of lateral passes that are a little bit short and get intercepted and not good enough. I also want to put a bit of shining light on the fullbacks, Alex Telles and Diogo Dalot. When you play a 4-2-2-2, your wing-backs have to be really high and they have to offer you width, and I thought that's exactly what they did. Alex Telles especially, extremely impressive. And Diogo Dalot keeping Aaron Wan-Bissaka out of the side because AWB is fit, but Diogo Dalot's attacking output just holds him way higher instead in terms of a wing-back position. And if you want your full-backs high, then Diogo Dalot is going to get an awful lot more game time. And I thought he looked dangerous. He put in some really neat crosses. So overall, I was pretty happy. Obviously, United aren't fit enough to do that for 90 minutes yet. I think on Wednesday against Young Boys, you're going to see significant changes. But I do think there was a small managerial bounce there, Dukes. Not the only manager who's had a good start, though. Stevie G, manager bounce for sure. Was that 9 points from a possible 12?
Yeah, absolutely. Great start. And we've seen quite a few managers new to the Premier League, hit the ground running this season. I think Bruno Lage has impressed at Wolves. I think Patrick Vieira has done a lot better than people expected there as well. And who knows, maybe in the next couple of weeks we'll see a new Everton manager coming in as well. A lot of speculation around Rafa Benitez's position, which we talked about on ERU today because there's talk that a very well-known European manager could be coming in there, but go over there after this to check that out. But yeah, Villa climbed into the top half of the Premier League after beating Leicester 2-1 at Villa Park in Sunday's late kickoff, the only game which was live on Sky on Sunday, which disappointed me on my long train journey down. In truth though, it was a pretty poor game. Villa rallied at the break in a similar vein to their game against Man City. In a game, I actually thought they were really good against Man City. A bit disastrous for that Bernardo counter-attack, too easy to get through the middle of the park, but I think Gerrard's really solidified that midfield. I think they've got a much more intensity about them as well. I don't think, to be honest, I didn't think there were too many issues under Dean Smith, despite that 5 losses on the bounce. But yeah, it feels like Ollie Watkins is really enjoying working under Gerrard as well. And I've been impressed with how they've set up so far, and good work from them so far. In the first half, though, it wasn't at their best. They conceded 8 shots while only having 4 themselves. But in the second half, it was a completely game of two halves, as they love to say. The home side had 8 and only conceded 4. Only Man City and Liverpool have taken more points than Villa since Gerrard arrived. And yeah, of course, they arrived with confidence pretty low after that 5 straight defeats. But let's not get too carried away at the same time. It's required some late winners in some of those games as well. Villa have scored 7 goals from an XG of 3.8 in that time. And Gerrard, as you would, keeping a lid on things, is adamant that there's still a lot of work to be done.
I thought we were seeing 2 sides of us today. Second half we were outstanding to a man all over the pitch. Started winning our duels, winning the second ball, started to compete better. But in the first 45 we give the ball away too much, we were too open, and Leicester caused us too many problems on the transition, so a lot for us to look at as well.
But it's not just Ralph and Stevie G who's got a little bit of bounce. Antonio Conte slowly kind of finding a little bit of momentum. That's now 3 Premier League wins on the bounce. They are only 2 points away from the top 4, and they have a game in hand, so they can leapfrog West Ham if they win that. Now, I do want to say the 3 wins have come against Norwich, Brentford and Leeds, who themselves haven't been brilliant in that time. And it was also that loss to NS Mura in the middle of that. So I don't want to get ahead of myself, but again, they did look better, and I thought against Brentford was one of their better performances of the season. Lucas Moura, huge shout out for that goal. Oh my word, what a stunner. I think that was his first goal in 25 Premier League games, which is just unbelievable. Yeah, but Harry Kane, I mean, still going through that dry spell, isn't it? It's not finished just yet. He's now being outscored by Fred. You know, not good enough, is it? What is that? 1 goal in, I think, 13 games, something like that, for Harry Kane. He rapidly needs to start finding the back of the net. A big shout out as well to Ollie Skip. I thought he was excellent in the midfield in this one. But Norwich still had their chances. Timu Pukki missed an excellent opening from about 8 yards out. I think it was Adam Ida also missed one from about 8 or 9 yards out. So there's definitely work to be done, because it is easy to slice through Tottenham, and there's going to be much stiffer tests out there than Brentford, Norwich and Leeds. But at least Antonio Conte is heading in a positive direction. After the game, he was absolutely delighted.
Today we showed a great desire to get 3 points, great desire to win, and we fight to win the tackle, and we were very, very concentrated.
All right, our losers this week, of course, only one place to go. I mean, it says Chelsea, and it was submitted by @TheBridgePod, but realistically, this should probably be Edouard Mendy, Dukes.
Oh, yeah, not a good game from him as well. And he looked a bit shaky in midweek against Watford as well. But this was an absolute clanger of a performance from him. I don't want to go too heavy on him, but Sam Abasaki on the podcast saying he's one of the best keepers in the world. I think he's getting a little bit ahead of himself there. But anyway, this result saw Man City and Liverpool leapfrog Thomas Tuchel's men after Chelsea dropped points for the 3rd time in their last 5 matches. Although West Ham were incredibly solid, they were counter-attacking really well as usual. Bowen and Antonio were the clear standouts. Individual mistakes were clearly Chelsea's biggest undoing, and this has been a recurring theme in recent weeks. Of course, that was that horrendous Jorginho touch against United. Chalobah, Asby and Saul had several shaky moments, as I said, against Watford, and a really poor all-round team performance, so it feels a little bit harsh to single out 3 players. And then Mendy against West Ham, you know, conceding the penalty and then misjudging that cross as well. A really hapless moment from him, who, you know, in his defence, he has been excellent since he joined Chelsea, so I don't want to go too far down on him. But this has led to a little bit of a debate in the FD WhatsApp group, Joe, about whether Chelsea have enough for the title this year, whether they've got enough sort of players that can grab a game by the scruff of the neck. I mean, what do you make of this? Is this just a little blip or something more long-term to be worried about?
Absolutely a little blip, in my opinion. I think Chelsea is still one of the standouts for title contention. Look, let's face it, I think they're the 2nd top scoring side in the entire league, and they haven't had Romelu Lukaku for the past 6 weeks due to an ankle problem he picked up in the Champions League. I think they've got the outstanding defensive system, I would say, if not the outstanding defensive personnel. Thomas Tuchel has developed a back 5 that is just monstrous to play against. Let's not forget, this was only the third time in 53 games at the weekend they've conceded more than one goal in a Premier League match. So I just think that people are getting a little bit ahead of themselves. There was some major individual errors in this match, like you've mentioned, from Edouard Mendy, and when those get cut out, and those do happen, you know, these are humans. They do make mistakes, not just machines. They're going to be absolutely fine. I think we've seen Mason Mount starting to come back to his best form again. The goal, the combination with Ziyech is just outrageous. And I think that's what now, 5 goals, 3 assists in 8 appearances or 8 starts so far this season for Mason Mount. So as soon as he starts to refine his form, Lukaku was able to play 45 minutes, so they don't have a huge impact in that 45 minutes. They are definitely going to be title contenders, in my opinion. And their squad is so deep that even without the £100 million man, without Mason Mount in there, with consistent midfield injuries to the likes of N'Golo Kante, they've still been able to maintain pace at the top of the table. Could we say the same about some of the other sides that are competing in there? If you lost £100 million out the front line of Liverpool, for instance, and Fabinho, and another midfielder where Mason Mount has played for Chelsea, would they be able to maintain that same pace that Chelsea have at the start of the season? I'm not too sure. So with all the players come back, I think Chelsea are absolutely a title contender, although Liverpool and City also look shit hot.
Yeah, they really do. They really do. And it's got to be said that Chelsea have had a really tough start to the season in terms of their fixtures as well. I think they've played pretty much every member of the traditional top 6, as it were. And yeah, as you said, they've had some big injuries as well. I just feel like, unlike, you know, Man City and Liverpool, they probably don't have an absolutely outstanding creator in that side. Like, they can all chip in, and it's been great to see Hakim Ziyech have put together a fantastic last few weeks as well. But in terms of the raw numbers, you know, we haven't had a title winner that hasn't created close to 3 key passes a game, or one player that hasn't created over 3 key passes per game since, I think, about 2016-17. So maybe Chelsea have a slight deficiency there, but I totally agree with you. They've done fantastically well to stay in the mix given those injuries. But there are some question marks about how that front line's going to work around Lukaku. Like, he didn't hit the ground running at the start of the season necessarily. And, you know, with Timo Werner still not scoring regularly, Kai Havertz has had a really disappointing start to the season, having been tipped for a potential player of the year by our very own Zach Jalab at the start of the season after that match-winning contribution in the Champions League final. So there are some issues in that attack, I think, but Thomas Tuchel, such an experienced manager, hopefully, you know, he can sort of sort these momentary issues out, and we continue to have this three-way title battle right to the end of the season. What I would say is he's never managed in England over a winter period, and I do think it is a slightly different kettle of fish than in Germany. I think they're playing 9 Premier League games, or 9 games in all competitions, I should say, this month alone, which is going to be an issue. Liverpool, obviously, January is going to be really difficult for them. Personally, I'm still going Man City. I think they're the only side that I can see right now that are capable of reeling off a sort of 15 to 20 game winning streak.
They are incredible, man.
They've done it on numerous occasions as well, so they're more than ready to do that. But I just hope this title battle continues. As a neutral, absolutely loving it. But yeah, I don't think there's too much to worry about for Chelsea fans.
No, I totally agree, mate. I think City do look really, really imperious, but it's a long old season and we're still early doors. Like they always used to say, like the title isn't lost the title isn't won this early, but it can be lost. And I think Chelsea have done really well just not to lose it, given the injuries to Kante, Mount and Lukaku going through the midfield. But just before we move on, I do want to shine some light on Bernardo Silva yet again while we're talking about title races. I mean, second best player in the Prem behind Mo Salah, absolutely no doubt about it. And I was saying this on Twitter, dudes, is there a better, like, not necessarily creative midfielder, but like maybe even just midfielder in world football at the moment? Because he is just outrageous on the ball going forward. I watched him play defensive midfield, I think it was against Chelsea, and he was just unbelievable. So I don't know whether there's a better midfielder doing what Bernardo Silva is doing right now across Europe. You're obviously much more in the know with the other top 5 leagues, but is there anyone else that kind of stands on his level?
It's a very good question. I think on current form, I can't really dispute that shout, really. I think Luka Modric has had an excellent last 6 months as well. He's been doing it for so long as well, but I totally get what you're saying in terms of how many roles he can play. And given the fact he was so close to leaving in the summer for personal reasons, we kind of, it's been said, and some issues with his game time, for him to come back in such good form has been absolutely, incredible to watch. And with Kevin De Bruyne having had a difficult start to the season with injury, similar to last year where Ilkay Gundogan really stepped up around Christmas. This year it's really the Bernardo Silva show at City, which is remarkable to think when, you know, they've got that talent in that forward line. Jack Grealish has been slightly quiet in the last month or so. Now they've got Phil Foden back as well. I just really see Man City sort of stretching their legs in this next period as well. They've got a great run of fixtures coming up as well. And Bernardo Silva's been absolutely central to it. So you're totally right. I think second best player in the Premier League this season by a distance.
Yeah, what do you guys at home think about this title race then? Can Chelsea maintain pace with the likes of Liverpool and Manchester City? Let us know in the comments below.
Right, just to wrap up the show then, we've got our moment of the week. Joe, what grabbed your attention this weekend?
I mean, for me, it had to be Victor Orta at full time. I mean, we'll overlay the footage here, but he's absolutely losing his head. I think he's either lead CEO or the director. I'm not exactly sure of his job title, but he's extremely senior at Leeds United. And obviously, this was after Patrick Bamford's last-minute equaliser against Brentford. I just love the passion in there as well. But there was a few other very, very late goals this weekend, Dukes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, speaking of passion, we talked about it on ERU, but Jude Bellingham slightly losing his head as well after Der Klassiker as well. It felt like a spicy moment. I think everyone knows there's so much riding on these title races right now. It's a really important month across the football season, December. So, yeah, tensions are high. But, yeah, I loved Neal Maupay equalising again in injury time. He's been so crucial this season. I think that's his third winner third late goal.
The celeb
as well, shushing the Southampton fans. Absolutely love to see it. He does not care one jot what people think about him. He must be one of the most unpopular players in the Premier League with opposing fans, but I'm sure the Brighton fans absolutely love it. So yeah, I thought that was a quality moment. And yeah, we already suggested it. Money May suggested Ziyech's floated pass and that Mount volley as well, which I think was probably the goal of the weekend. Van Persie, a kind of reverse Van Persie as it were. It was lovely to see.
Yeah, and you know, we probably should mention Divock Origi, just because he is like the ultimate cult hero, isn't he? You know, another late winner for the big man. And Jurgen Klopp after the game. I actually thought it was really sweet, Jurgen Klopp, after the game. Give this a listen.
Divock Origi, the legend, came and finished it off for us.
Alright, so that's the end of Winners and Losers for yet another week. Doogie, you were talking, I believe, about Jude Bellingham, amongst other things on ERU?
Yes, Jude Bellingham's outburst, Mourinho potentially replacing Rafa Benitez, but what I really want you to go watch is our French hooligan video on EFD, which dropped on Sunday. I haven't actually watched it yet, but Joe, you were waxing lyrical about it in the FD WhatsApp group. Apparently, it's an absolutely superb video written by Henry and edited by Danny Pape, so I'm sure it's absolutely world class. So go give that a watch if you've enjoyed this.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Brilliant, brilliant watch. Make sure you go and see it. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. We'll catch you there. Bye.